Hello everyone and welcome back to the comments section. My name's Brian if you happen to be new around here, but if you're a returning subscriber, thanks so much for being back and thanks so much for hitting that like button as we have been fighting, I think, some Chinese bots. I'm not so positively sure yet, but your likes and your support do help this channel out, and thank you guys so much. If you're a new listener, welcome into the channel. This is the comment section. This is where I spend a lot of time highlighting what you guys have to say. So always weigh in on the videos, the topics, the news, the guides. That's how I generate and build out these videos, because there's a lot that you guys have to say. And I think that's actually the best part about being a gamer, is the conversation, is to not just highlight what I think, but to highlight what you guys are thinking as well. So welcome in everybody. Get a hot coffee, get a cold brew, I don't care. Get a nice drink, sit back. Hopefully you're doing something awesome today, and hopefully this video adds some value to your day and wherever you are. Thank you so much, and howdy from Texas in this case. Now, before we dive in, we talked a little bit about baby news. Right now on the channel I have a poll, but Michael jumps in, another future raid team member. And yes, right now the poll as it sits, you guys are voting whether it's a baby boy or a baby girl. It is at this time 50-50. So you guys are just as in the know as I am. We'll be finding out about the new baby here in a couple of days. So I might be a little bit AFK from the channel for a little while as we kind of ease into the family. And we do not know. We will be surprised whether it's a boy or girl. So go feel free to weigh in on the community tab and vote in the poll itself. Be sure to hit the like button on those polls as well, as that's a great way of helping kind of just get them out into the algorithm as well. So it is really, really fun to see, and we'll find out here soon enough. Now, in this case, I think the start of this comment section might be a little bit more on the negative side, not by design or not necessarily because I want to, but because especially as we look at the retention rate here on the channel, this is probably going to be the most important aspect of this. Now, we have a lot of really cool information to share throughout this episode, but we're going to go and start with this, and I'm going to come off a little bit, I guess, snarky to a degree. So buckle up, get your snark hats ready, because we're going to dive in. Some of y'all need to clean your dadgum ears. Some of you guys, like, it really is funny in this case. And I'm always, when it comes down to it, I'm not expecting, I don't want to sit here and try to put pressure on you guys to watch full videos. But I do try to make my points very clear, especially earlier on in the videos themselves. But let's dive into a couple of comments here. Navy Style says, you didn't even address the title of the video throughout the whole thing. What are the Korean players saying about this game, and what don't they like? You went on about how players are different, enjoy different things, find reviewers that align with their interest, and can't know what is coming up, etc. The whole video didn't even address the original question, which is particularly important because if KR, the Koreans, hate this game and their devs, those are going to be our devs, our publishers have to deal with to make the changes to the game. Rooster says, empty video with 50 minutes of pure nothing. So in this case, like, one of the things that I absolutely don't agree with from Navy's perspective, Rooster's perspective, is that I didn't address the title of the video. I always do, usually at the start. There's no difference between a Korean gamer and an American gamer. There's no difference. Otherwise, like, to take this to its logical conclusion, the world would be Xbox gamers if that was true. If it was all about, like, our home team. No, but how they're acting and what they're saying, which is in reference and linked to the video, because it wasn't my video going over what they were saying, I'm sitting here just talking about it, is that it doesn't matter what they're saying. You can go watch the video. It was linked in the comments and tagged. That's what I do. I don't like to do a lot of reaction content, and I know that hurts the channel because there is a huge demand for reaction content, but I like to reference that. And if I do ever do a full reaction, I actually do a revenue share with the content creator in question, because I think that's the only real fair way to manage what a reaction content is. Right now, I'm not going to go rehash my frustrations with React content. It is what it is. But in this case, the idea that a Korean gamer has some level of insight that is different from you or me or anything is weird, because they are just like us. They are gamers just like us. And like I said in that video, talk is cheap. Gamers complaining on the internet is as valuable as, like, dirt that you just walk through. It doesn't mean anything. It has no real value. A lot of negativity gets a lot of attention, but it doesn't necessarily give anybody any real information. So any Koreans complaining on a forum, like, you could take Korean out of it. You just say a gamer complaining on the forum, and you're going to have the exact same amount of knowledge. That's what the video talks about, and that's what I address. But if you are so adamant on wanting to know exactly what the Koreans are saying, well, then that's what the links are for. There's no point in stealing anybody's content out there, and that's just how I view about it. But I like Rooster Happy video, 15 minutes of pure nothing. Thank you so much for hanging out for the 15 minutes, leaving a comment and supporting the content, man. If you didn't get anything out of it, I don't know why you're going to take time to spend with me. It is going to be what it is. And most likely, we're going to see this video. If we get to the 30-minute mark here on this, because this is kind of like a mini podcast, I have it classified here on YouTube as one. You're going to have to sit here and say, hey, you know what? 30 minutes of pure nothing. I hope that you're having fun regardless, because I'm having so much fun with this. But that's kind of more the negative. Let's get more into the positive itself. Mystera says, it would be pretty awesome to get rid of that cycle. Talking about kind of the hate gripe cycle. Sure, hold people accountable when appropriate, but don't be negative, or just for the sake of it. It's definitely different and really a waste of energy. So is negativity a waste of energy? I think that really is about a matter of how you structure it. Is it okay to be upset about something? Of course, right? We all are going to have opinions. We're all going to have that. But complaining doesn't necessarily resonate with me. It is the thing that annoys me the most is that complaining is just griping about something with no real action. That sucks. Why does it suck? I don't know, because it sucks. Okay, that's not a value-driven, way. There's nothing actionable out of it, right? You can sit here and say, hey, Brian, I like your voice, but you laugh too much in the mic, right? Okay, or something like that. That would be critique. That's not hate. That's not negative. That's critique that you have given me now actionable information that I can choose to accept, reject, but ideally try to continually improve. That's the same thing when it comes to gaming. Now, it becomes difficult because, especially on a global scale, language barriers and things like that, text can also get misinterpreted. That's why I've really been enjoying this, because I can bring y'all's texts and your points up, and I can address them in, audible form, which I think ends up actually having a better way than if I just did a quick reply, because that could come off, negative, or, I could be it could be how you interpret my words is going to always vary based off of our personal life experiences, right? So this is something that is just always going to be a challenge, and that's just the nature of language. Your life experiences, even if English is your native language, it's mine, but I suck at it because I'm dyslexic, and so you'll hear mispronunciations and things like that. But you take that into account, my life experiences, I use terms and phrases that you might hear as positive or negative or what have you. So it is almost the sense of a practice, right? We are in a way in this experiment that is YouTube and social media. You and I are engaged in this kind of practice of getting to know each other better, getting to understand each other better. And that's one of the things why you'll see, I do a lot of hearts on comments. People who leave a lot of comments, I put hearts because it does eventually add in badges. I think YouTube could go a whole nother level and really expand on this, so we could have a much easier and better understand dialogue than we do currently, because that's one of the reasons why negative comments get so much attraction, because you'll get 1,000 amazing comments. A lot of people are like, oh, this is great, or you really helped me understand this, or you fixed this problem that I was having on my computer. I do all kinds of crazy videos here. And then essentially you get the one negative, and it's oh, does that negative really represent the whole? Not really. But that's why I like to do hearts, and hopefully we'll get more tools so that essentially the relationship that you and I continue to evolve, and I get to understand your gaming preferences and what you guys like and what content you guys like that I produce. We then can grow in that way. And so it becomes more of a community and less so much of a, one-sided, discussion and things like that. So ultimately, I think essentially, would I like the cycle to change? Yes, I think that's going to have to be algorithmically driven. I think that's going to have to be YouTube giving us the tools to highlight these things. And I don't necessarily believe in muting. I don't like to sit here and quiet people down, but I have had to, because some people are just unreasonable, unrational. I mean, just vitriol, right? And so when it comes to stepping over a line, that's where that comes into play. But I do think there's a lot of barriers, right? There's a lot of things that it'd be so cool to tag like, oh, this person really likes this game or that game. So that way I can always make sure that, like, understanding wise, when that conversation comes up, oh yeah, like that's the player who like has every job leveled in Final Fantasy 14. Oh, that's good to know. Because now I can understand and just to call back memories, like just add the ability to add notes to people's profiles on the comments would be a huge win in this case. Tech says, this is a twist I didn't expect. Figured the locals were in this game were really going to be all in for the game. Now I'm not so sure about the overall. And this, again, is coming back to the geography. Geography has nothing to do with gaming. Otherwise, the majority of gamers would be Xbox fans because the majority of games are more like Western-based right now. That wasn't always the case, but you'd end up having that. Averman follows this up, says, locals know nothing, just like us. And that is exactly the case. It doesn't, whether, again, like, that a local person is complaining about it. If they had been playing it for, like, and actually playing the game, then take their critique into more weight, but not necessarily that. I think they're just as frustrated as pay to win as we are, but like, then again, it's more culturally accepted. So there could be some values in understanding how the different cultures perceive different things. But in terms of it, that's why you also see Amazon kind of stepping up, becoming the publisher for Throne and Liberty and more. And so that's going to be how it is. Now, got a wave of comments here. Let's just go through them, talking about the delay. Chris says, October just seems so far off from the original release. If it is a delay based off of a competition, October seems like way too long and a bad month to release. It would have to assume July or August would be perfect. Skip over the D4 release and beat New World expansion and Blue release. Something that doesn't seem to add up, which concerns me. Despawn says, let's be honest, it's very likely to be 2024. Cupcat says, delayed. What a surprise. Like every single live action game ever has been created. And Grim follows up, says, a lot of large RPGs such as Bethesda push games out during the fourth quarter, usually November. So New World would have major competition in the fourth quarter. Throne of Liberty will totally flop if released in October. Might as well push it back to early 2024. So in terms of this, yeah, like there's windows, especially with a new IP. And then when it comes down to a new IP, if you're, let's say, all in and so excited and really like can't wait to play Throne of Liberty, awesome, right? This is going to be a lot of fun. However, there's going to be established IP, and one things I would kind of try and encourage you to listen to the segment on is think outside of yourself and think in terms of the global and the general gaming pop. You and I would be considered the hardcore, right? And that's where hardcore and casual, like these terms become so loosely vague that it becomes hard to understand. I play games casually because I have limited time, but I spend that time very hardcore. Like the time that I am given gives me, like, I'm very focused. I love to do things in games, and I'm also passionate. I'm following the news, reading up on all the information out there that I can understand it. And then I bring my software dev perspective. So I'm a hardcore gamer, but I'm also viewed as a casual gamer because I have limited amounts of time. And, if hardcore and casual are only based off of the amount of time you have games, then you'd consider me a casual. But overall, like, I'm entrenched, I'm engaged, I'm a passionate gamer. Like, this is my really big passion besides stand-up comedy. And those are the things that I like to spend my time in, the free time that I have. And so that's kind of step A here. Step B is that when we think outside of ourselves into just the people who are following along for what's going on, I'm not judging them. It's like, oh, here's the big game, or here's the big game. They kind of trend hop and they go for what's being brought into their, forefront. Throne of Liberty as a new IP, it's going to struggle no matter what against established IPs. And you might think that it could really dominate the New World expansion. It could go both ways. People could be like, oh, I've already invested time in a New World, and then with an expansion, it's got stability, it's got content. Throne of Liberty, you could just go jump in and maybe you beat it, and everything it has to offer in 4 weeks or something like that, right? We don't know how much content it's going to have, but we do know that every MMO launch never has enough content. Like, we know that for a fact. There is not an MMO out there that has launched with enough content for the masses and for the horde and, for the waves, as I've heard people describe them as locusts. This is not my term. That's a term that I've seen other content creators use, which overconsume and leave everything barren and then complain that there's not enough content. Timing is everything in this case, especially as a new IP. If you are able to come out with hype and hold on to that for a couple of months, deliver content, You can establish yourself as that foothold. People will leave and they'll go play other games. And then you have the opportunity to invite them back in with the latest update and more. And they will remember the good times and they'll forget the bad, because that's human nature. Human nature will, over time, you'll forget the pain points and you'll remember the fun. And that's a good thing. That's part of our survivability, right? If you couldn't forget the bad things, you're going to really have a hard, difficult time in life. But yeah, them delaying the game, not surprised. I don't think it's a problem in this case, but the timing is going to be interesting. Now, I did reach out to my contacts at AGS, and they have not confirmed the validity of the article that we were covering. That's why I said take it for a grain of salt. October seems like a weird month. However, a beta does make sense, and then that kind of gets into the idea of a beta kind of ruining some of the mystery about the game itself. One way or the other, we'll be sure to keep you guys up to date on that. Now, we talked about delays. Let's talk about what is next. We got a couple comments. Resvix and Ryersurus, sorry for butchering your name, says, I don't think Blue Protocol will be released after Throne of Liberty. It already has marketing, website, socials, the coverage, etc., a big event. It also doesn't really compete with Diablo, and it is free to play. It would kill the hype for some people, and it would be tempted to go and they can go play the JP version, and it would be really bad. I don't think Amazon's that stupid. I do not like Blue Protocol only needs a class balance patch before its launch in Japan. If Throne of Liberty became played, it wouldn't be against the philosophy of that game. Now, Asin says, you know that it means for Blue Protocol is being delayed because of this. And then Matt says, well, that's the question, Blue Protocol or Throne of Liberty. And so Blue Protocol versus Throne of Liberty is going to be interesting. Both free to play, both two different kind of complete styles. I think the visual styles are going to obviously, like, if you're more into anime, Blue Protocol is going to be your thing. If you're more into, I guess, open world stuff, like I think Throne of Liberty is going to be your thing. That's the beauty of it. However, when we talk about the strategy and the release schedule of this games itself, it's like all of a sudden, like you are as Amazon competing against yourself if you're stacking these all up back to back to back. And I mean, not necessarily month to month to month. You give somebody 4 weeks of a game, and then you can, if you think about it, you bring in Lost Ark, you could literally be playing a Amazon-based MMO update every 4 to 5 months, right? You go, hey, we're going to play Lost Ark this month, and then next month we're going to play New World, and the next month we're going to be on Blue Protocol. Next month Throne of Liberty. Oh, now it's time to go back to Lost Ark. Like, they have the ability to kind of capture a huge amount. And even if, like, out of those 4 games, you're only interested in 2 of them, there you go, right? Like, you end up being able to kind of bounce back and forth as the content rolls out. Now, do I think that Blue Protocol is being delayed because of Throne of Liberty? No. Like, you're talking about 2 development teams themselves. There will be and could be a bottleneck with Amazon. Amazon has listed in Japan, like, translation, hiring more people. They've got the funds, they got the money. I'm not worried about it. It's a problem that money can fix, and Amazon has the money to fix the problem. But when you start to think about it, like, you're managing a lot of different things, and then that all of a sudden gets into drop campaigns, marketing campaigns, and more. So essentially, I think this is going to be an interesting strategy that we get to look back and say, holy crap, I can't believe they did it. Because when it comes down to it, like, once these games are out, you're going to see that natural cycle flow and flow and flow and dominate and dominate and dominate. And so no matter what, there's always a reminder of what they have out there, and they don't have to spend a dime in that case. They don't have to spend money on advertising because Twitch and content creators are doing it for them, all based off of this natural flow. But does this mean Blue Protocol's delayed? We don't know yet, actually. Like I said, I won't be able to cover it this week, but over on Blue Protocol Central, I cover the game over there. You can follow me on that case, but I won't be live this week. They have their network test update, and then essentially we're going to start to actually look at when that game's coming out in Japan. There is going to be a delay in between Japan and the global. They were talking about having a beta this spring, and that could shift into the summer. And so I could see some of these games shift out of the November, December timeframe. And then, yes, then you're looking at, 2024, and not in a bad way, but in actually a really strong offering and not necessarily having to compete against the globalness of it. Now let's shift into some game engine talk here. Label says, smart move going to Unreal Engine 5 over Guild Wars 2 engine. How old is that engine must be? Sounds like The prior lead was just as bad as the Bethesda's management using their creation engine when there are much better options. Supposedly it can do 16x the detail, so I don't really know. And then Emerald says Unreal Engine 4, Unreal Engine 5, Unreal Engine 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. We have some fun around here in terms of these comments. I believe it is Unreal Engine 2.5, but I also believe I saw that they upgraded to Unreal Engine 5. So when I said Unreal Engine 5 in one video, someone was like, no, it's 4.25. So one way or the other, honestly, doesn't matter. It's on Unreal. Why is Unreal a good engine? I don't fall into the category of where I see some gamers talk about engines in a negative light. Like, oh, that engine, it's the engine. It's the leadership. It's always going to be the leadership over the engine. The engine makes it easy to, have and train people into the system, right? One of the things that Unreal has, and that over like a custom engine, is that you come in, if you've been trained on Unreal, you've been trained. And so then it's just a matter of learning the processes within development. So there's a real strength. And that's actually what we saw Japan and kind of the East struggle, because a lot of the Unreal stuff back in Unreal Engine 3 and early ages of 4 were not because they're not intelligent. It's because the information, the translations weren't available. And so as that have come online, we've seen more adoption of Unreal, and I think that's going to be a real strength for the game and for its long-term support. And so I know a lot of people put a lot of weight on an engine, and I would think that, if you think about it in terms of your grade school or your education, where like tests are weighted heavily than your homework or something like that, I do think that there is a value in the engine. I think a lot of gamers, in terms of what they use and talk about, overvalue the engine, where other things are actually, I think, more important. So I would give the engine itself like 30% of the total score of that, but then everything like leadership is still key. If you're wasting time and nobody knows what you're building, it's never gonna be a fun time. All right, let's talk about the nature of game services a little bit. Hill says day 1 Q, day 2 Q, week 1 Q, week 2 bugs and crashes, week 3 bugs, crashes, cheaters, and glitches, week 4 bugs, crashes, cheaters, and glitches, week 5, 6, 7, and 8 fun game, week 9 starts to get boring, week 10 boring, week 11 leave. What they live off here in this comment is just the fact that week 11, week 12, week 13, week 14, week 16, week 30, hey, update, content update. Maybe I'll come and update. Maybe I'll go see what's going on. Maybe I'll go watch that video. Should I return? If you only think about gaming in this week 1 through week 11 mindset, you're thinking about games as a service wrong. That's a big thing. Like overall, this is kind of where I always see like these gamers who are the single player gamers, nothing wrong with them, but they keep getting sucked into games as a service, and then they keep getting frustrated. And it's not finished. Or they needs this, Can't help you, dude. Like, I think you're getting caught up into the hype, and occasionally the hype goes with the games as a service. So I don't take that into a negative case. I don't look at hype number drop off as a sign of a bad game. I wish that the more people could see that, but it's the internet, and this comes back to Mystera's comment. Like that cycle, in that regard. So I think the only real fix for that is algorithmic stuff, right? Like, it's like, okay, cool. Like, talk is cheap. Talk is so cheap. And that's what it is. Actions mean more. And that's why when it comes down to it, I don't care what a game company says they're going to do. I care what they do. And that's the thing. Building up that level of trust takes time. A lot of people have been burned by these games and these companies and more. And unfortunately, that's going to happen again. And people are going to use situations by other companies and apply it to other situations. Like, oh, that happened over here, so clearly it's going to happen over here. It's a false equivalency. It's not necessarily going to mean that that's going to be the case. It could mean it, but at the end of the day, like, the beauty of all of this, so we're talking about games. In the worst case scenario, you get disappointed and you find another game, or you go play a really great game. There's a lot of good stuff out there, which is counter argument to the people who make the claim that gaming is just getting worse. Every time I talk about like the downfall of gaming and all this BS, like the science of it shows that that's wrong. And so that's why I always say that those people are making an emotional driven argument based off of their emotions. Their feelings are their facts in this case. And there's, the only thing that will fix that is either they get educated and they come to a realization, or time. time happens, then the burn, burns less, and then they look up and they're like, oh, I can go play this other good game, or maybe I'll go spend my time over there. So yeah, some of y'all, God bless you. Some of y'all are in need of, I guess, a reality check in that regards. Stefan says, so that they've been working on it under the last 10 years, but it still needs countless delays due to the possibility or probability of countless bugs. Already more disappointing about it anyway. Thank God for Yoshi and for Final Fantasy 14. Thank goodness for that. Yes, praise that, because that's a good option for people who want that option. You go and you spend 13 years with that game and you're like, well, they really haven't made anything new. They just continue to, change the skybox and kick the can down the street. Like, it is what it is. If you like Final Fantasy 14, great. I'm glad that exists. And that's the point. We have to get out of this tribalistic mindset. We got to support people who are doing good things and reward from an economy of ideas, letting the good ideas rise to the top. However, in this genre, very tribal due to its subscription nature. And I think essentially that as the genre evolves with more of the free-to-play, buy-to-play model mindset, if we have some real good contenders and really good systems in place, it might be interesting to see if it changes people's minds, but we'll have to wait and see. All right. Pent Parzival says, kind of over it at this point. If the trending holds, the New World team has found how to keep players by keeping content and events rolling. Frankly, this is a part of the parcel for NCSoft. Guild Wars 2 has always had dismissal advertising. I only learned about it through people talking about it in the End of Dragons release. We'll talk about more about that here in a second. Throne and Liberty is, if the rumors hold to be true, is likely to be not as popular as Western MMOs unless there's some other compelling reason why to play it. And I think that the other MMOs, the minor MMOs that they may be, the people just play. The other problem with October is that New World will have its release for the first real expansion and the first weeks of the month. We will get that date from Scott's 95-day season comment and Katie's comment. And the first real expansion is coming with Season 3. So extrapolating all the original releases days of Season 1 before the delays got us to October 10th, I believe. My bet is that Throne and Liberty shifts to the right in late November or early December release and makes it out the door in 2023. Disclaimer, I used to write for the Warcry networks in early 2000s and did extensive reporting on MMOs back then. I've kept my ear to the ground over the years, but if the publisher dev pattern holds, that they're going to try a release the content to dip in the other games. The only spoiler I see is World of Warcraft, and knowing that Blizzard that they have a plan to release in an opportune time to ensure their players base is engaged. The good news is that there are others catching on to the quarterly content and small events. That means more people are sticking to MMO genre games and not falling back into the done titles when frankly they need to be ignored for a little bit until those clowns start producing actual finished games. So Throne and Liberty being published by Amazon is going to be interesting. Like I said, New World in and of itself is interesting because it does have that expansion, and ultimately you're going to want to give that some time. You want to give that some breath. And then when it comes down to like Guild Wars 2, like this is where I think Amazon's going to be better for Throne and Liberty than Guild Wars 2, because Guild Wars 2 literally has the worst marketing and information. They will release, they'll tell you within a couple of days, hey, new big update next week. All right, cool. Oh, it also coincides with another really big update game. Like, can you just push it by a week? 2 weeks? Why do you have to go now? Like, Guild Wars 2's marketing and how they roll out their content is ridiculous. Like, it is ridiculous. That's why I think Amazon behind Throne and Liberty is going to be huge, because then you got the drops, Twitch campaigns, and so much more. I don't think you want to stack up against New World's expansion. And whether you like, it's a phenomenal game. Like, it is truly a really great game, but it's a part of its early phases of an MMO. One of the things a lot of people do, and this is kind of tying back to the start of the conversation, forget the bad, remember the good. A lot of people forget the bad of World of Warcraft and all these MMOs when they've launched. They remember the good, because it's, like that's natural, right? So when it comes down to it, an expansion is going to be in a moment of excitement and hype. And I don't think it's smart if they want to have them both step on each other's toes. Now, the expansion itself, the question about size is going to be the thing. Like, there's going to be continual people who are going to try and cheer on like New World's destruction. And that's going to keep people from playing the game. The only thing Amazon can do to combat that is to release content. Same thing with Throne and Liberty. Same thing with Blue Protocol. Same thing with all of this. You just keep releasing content and ignore the haters. Like that's the best thing to do, is just ignore the hate, Just keep making the content, take the good critique and apply it and build from there. So that's going to be what it is. Now, we should probably be somewhere close to the 30-minute mark. So if you made it to the point of this, sound off in the comments, 30-minute legend. We might do another call out because we got a couple more comments to get to. But thank you guys so much for being here. And if you haven't hit that like button already, please do. It's a great way of helping these videos out algorithmically. And I cannot say that enough. It really does change the trajectory of the channel and these videos. Now, Maven the Reaper says, at this juncture, I'm yearning to hear positive about the game because outside of the graphics, there's only been bad news. And the sort of defense for the bad news, but I am not hearing good things about this game. I'm still waiting for it, but it does so far not bode well. Good thing that we have other MMOs on the horizon. And Alberman follows us up, says, you're hearing nothing about the game because nothing is here. People just talk about other games and troll. That's one of the things why I think this game is so interestingly doing well within like the videos that I've been producing. Is I think we don't know much about it. Like, it's such a still mystery that it could be anything. And this is the real danger when it comes to MMO players. This is one of the reasons, like, when you look at Riot's MMO, we know nothing about it. Like, oh, Brian, we know about the lore and the world and it's going to be great. In your mind, you have built the utopian MMO. That is one of the things that when it comes down to like the content creation side of it and the commentators and the discussion, all of these games get compared to the perfect MMO that does not and will never exist, and that is the MMO in your mind. We put that title onto actual properties. Like Ashes of Creation had it for a while. Riot's MMO has it now. Because the more we learn about it, the more it contradicts our perfect MMO and that utopian's broken, and so we must find another place to put it. Throne of Liberty doesn't have it, which is good, and that actually could play to its strength, but it could don that title. As, people find out about it. Oh man, maybe this is the one. Maybe this is going to be the game that I live in, and it consumes my life for the next 10 years. I mean, I hate to break it to you, but most likely, based off of these stats here, is you're 25 and over at this channel. That is essentially the breakdown. We do have some under 25s, and howdy. You probably have way more free time in that regards, and I don't think it's necessarily the MMO. I think it's a matter that you probably have some awesome things going on in your life, and if you don't, go get some awesome things going on in your life. You only get one shot, right? And so games are awesome, and when we didn't have much time and money, like especially MMOs, those are great places to put that time. But as we get older, time gets more valuable. You have less of it. You have more obligations. You have more responsibilities. And so the scenario for creating the thing that you want might not happen, not because of the game, but because of just, you probably hopefully have some really good things going on in your life, and those things are worth that time. And ideally, we can all be doing a better job at being, here for each other. Life's hard. We all have our struggles. We all have our challenges. Some of them are very unique. Some of them things that we can relate very well to one another. And so it's important to sit here and put gaming in its correct spot and position. One of joy and hope and fun and community, and less so about fixing the things that are inside of us that are broken. And so when it comes down to it, you're not hearing good things, you're not hearing bad things. I mean, you might be hearing bad things because bad things generate attention, and we live in an attention-driven economy. And I'm going to keep bringing that up because it's something that dramatically concerns me. That and the bots and AI, but those are bigger conversations for other days. But on its note, I think those are the comments that I wanted to highlight for you guys today as a part of the comment section. Hopefully you got something good. That's the goal of these videos, to make them enjoyable, fun, relaxing, all those good things. If you do see YouTube ask you for a review of the video itself, be sure to leave a good review. And those are also very helpful. And I'm just going to wish you guys all the best. I'm going to go spend time with my wife and kids and be with help Julie with the baby. And we're going to be doing all those. So, if you don't hear from me for a little while, that's where I'm at. And I thank you guys so much for the opportunity to hang out with you guys today. Anyway, I wish you guys all the very best. Thanks so much for being here. Hopefully I'll see you in the next video. But until then, take care.